What was the most porno situation you've ever had? One that I still kick myself for. I work as a gardener, so I'm halfway there already, but at one of my former sites there was an older woman who lived there. She was late 40s, early 50s, but had aged like a fine wine. Great body, lovely face, and an attractive personality that made you feel easy around her. She'd jokingly flirt all of the time, to which to then 21-year-old me had me real hot under the collars. One day I was using some rope for a job when she asked if I could help her move something heavy in her apartment. Me being the guy I am, agreed, so I went into her apartment with a rope still in hand. Moved the stuff for her, and she took notice of my rope. Crossed her wrists over and said, "Oh, is that for me, sir?" or something like that, whilst giving me now what I know as the look. I chuckled but left the apartment, where I immediately realized that I had an opportunity to playfully ramp up the flirting and see where it went. I was young and inexperienced, but in hindsight she all but handed me a condom and I used it as a balloon to float away instead. Years ago, my parents were not really happy with my sister after she came out as gay. So she wasn't invited to Thanksgiving. To support her, I went to her gay orphan's Thanksgiving with her friends instead of my parents. While there, I met this woman who I got along with really well. But I figured she was, well, a lesbian. Later, we were washing the dishes, and she says, "I think we are the only two straight people here." I go, "I think so." She says, "I think that means we have to duck." We did. My coworker came to my office and said, "Come with me." She starts leading me down to the basement where there's never any other people. Turns out she just needed me to carry something heavy. I lost my virginity working at a bar because my boss said to me, "Would you duck that girl over there?" I said, "Yeah, for sure." And he said, "You're cut. Punch out and take her home." To which I had to really wonder if he was ducking with me. But no, he was not. I had a pest control guy come into my condo without really knocking when I was about 20 years old. I had just gotten out of the shower, so I was in only a bathrobe. I also had just done laundry. So all my delicates like bras, panties and lacy lingerie were hanging around to dry. I have no idea what that poor guy was thinking I was trying to do. But I swear I just didn't realize he was coming. A high school friend's parents were out of town for the weekend, so I was sleeping over at his house. He goes to bed early, but I'm not tired, so I'm downstairs watching TV. His sister, about a year younger, comes in and sits on the other side of the couch. I forget what movie we're watching, but there was a fashion show and all the models came out wearing nothing. Sister asks, "Do guys get hard watching stuff like this?" I wasn't but started when she asked. I was still not exactly a confident high schooler, but she was cute and I felt relaxed around her. So I said something like, "Sometimes. Depends." "Why? Do you get wet?" She giggled but didn't say anything for a moment. Then she looked over me and asked if I was hard. I was a little scared that my friend would hear or walk in, but I knew he was upstairs and I was a horny teen. So I said, "Yeah. Want to see?" She did. I showed her. Gotta be J. Ate her out. Good movie. Girl. Spread eagle on my bed in short shorts talking about how flexible she is, ma. Are you even paying attention? You asked me who David Attenborough was and I'm showing you. PLS focus. My freshman year of college, a girl was going door to door in the dorms offering to give head for someone to do her chemistry homework. Never been so upset I didn't pay attention in high school camp. When my sister's French exchange student came to the UK to stay with us after she left university to help improve her English. One night after a few too many drinks, she came into the bathroom while I was having a shower and everything went way better than expected. Went to a friend's house party and ended up in a foursome with him, his girlfriend, and one of his girlfriend's girlfriends. I had way too much to drink though. So with that on top of the anxiety about the whole situation, I couldn't perform at all. I'm barely a twosome kind of guy, let alone a foursome. No idea how that whole thing happened. I was in a bed with 2 girls and a guy all drunk. Legit about to have a foursome until I ran out of the room puking and ruined the mood for everyone. A lady invited me to her place for dinner. She failed to mention that she was married and her husband and kid were at dinner too. It was incredibly awkward, but even more so when we went to room and I seen a camera lens poking out from underneath some clothes. I thanked her for dinner and bailed. This above average looking girl in high school took a shower in our boys' cottage during a survival trip in the Ardennes. They wouldn't return to the girls' cottages for a few hours and she was dirty from spelunking. We chatted while she was showering. I had my back turned because I am a good boy. She turns off the water and a few moments later she says, "You can turn around now. There's nothing interesting to see anymore." I turned around and she was completely naked. I was completely awestruck and spoke the legendary words, "Nothing to see there indeed," and proceeded to pack my sandwiches for the next day. I probably ruined her self-confidence for a few years with 5 words. But I was completely confuzzled and not romantically interested in her. Makes me kinda sad when I think back about it now. My friend called me to ask if I could help her change the shower head. Sure. No biggie. Then after I do it she asks if I want a massage. I'm laying on my stomach and next thing I know she's topless giving me a massage and things went from there. Burning Man. Entered a tiny geodesic done with a girl. 2 girls in bikinis followed us in and literally sat down and spread her legs wide open at me, grinning. I probably would have done the thing but the girl I was with was not into it. Pub. Married couple sit down and start talking about a threesome with me, how they have done it before. I was young and dumb and got weirded out and left. She was hot too. Wiping with 1-ply toilet paper, getting in touch with my inner self while the guy in the next stall grunts his demon out. In college a man, went streaking in the middle of the night through an empty field with 3 lady friends. 2 were pretty religious and I think that was the most raunchy thing they had ever done. Afterwards we laid out on a blanket, heads in on each other's bodies, still naked, and looked at the stars. That is as far as it went though. Complimented a girl on how amazing her boobs are while in the restroom. Proceeded to show me and let me touch them. It was an interesting experience. She has the most beautiful aqua eyes. Best friend got married just after college. Got paired with someone in the wedding party I had never met. While driving this older Jewish grad student to the bride's parents' place to the after party, she remarks, "I'm glad you know how to drive a stick because this is the only stick I can drive," and reaches over and grabs my junk for the rest of the ride. We banged all over 2 different rooms and a living room sectional that night while everyone was passed out all over the house. I got laid before the groom did that night. I became friend of this lesbian couple, male here. After a few weeks they asked me if I wanted to go to their house. They were super straightforward and said they were looking for a friends with benefits / boyfriend kind of a deal and that they have chosen me. I said yes. Of course. After a few weeks of some amazing encounters I started to develop feelings for one of them. A few days later the other one started to notice it and got jealous. Finally, this girl I felt with in love into confessed she was in love with me. So she broke up with her girlfriend. Our date didn't last long enough. And that, kids, is the story of how I managed to screw up with a steady threesome relationship. I was sitting watching TV with my 2 female friends when one of them says to the other, "Hey, wouldn't it be funny if we watched porn?" Not me but my friend. He, 20M, was asked by a complete stranger woman, 35F, to help her move something up to her flat. As soon as they were upstairs she started touching and massaging his privates while starting to make out. He excuses himself as best he could. Got her number and left. She later wanted him to invite his friends for a threesome, which he never accepted. Even though the friend group's mindset is a bit of, duck anything that is willing to get ducked. All of us had a really weird feeling about that woman. My friend and I go out for drinks with a few girls we met at a festival. We head back to my friend's house to do some lines of coke and one of the girls decides to invite another friend over. An hour in I realized she isn't into it, but the girl my friend is with is down to play ball. The two other girls went out for a smoke and my mate and I found ourselves in his room, spit roasting this one girl whilst the other two are just outside the house for 15 minutes. My roommate, at the time, and I were hosting some friends in our apartment. We both got pretty drunk and, when everyone finally left, I was cleaning up and she had gone to bed. I get a text from her asking if I can come sit with her for a bit, as she felt dizzy from being drunk and could use the company. I go to her room and sit on a chair next to her bed. She's laying face down with her blanket over her and we're just talking. She laughs and says you can sit on the bed. You know, so I move over and sit in the edge of her bed. This is when I noticed she's naked under the covers. My friend and I were hanging out on his apartment rooftop one summer night drinking. We ended up talking to this group of girls, one of whom was very petite and in a bikini since there was a pool there. We were talking for a while before this random lady and cameraman showed up and asked if we would be willing to be interviewed for a documentary she was filming on millennials and their views on the world or something. My buddy and I agreed, and she also convinced the girl to join too. So they set the three of us down on this couch, and made her sit in the middle. It was badly lit. We were all a little buzzed, and the director kept making us sit closer and closer together until this poor girl was basically sitting in our laps, as we were filming, and she was asking us these vague questions. I realized how this must look on tape. Me, a bigger kinda heavy white dude with a full beard. This tiny white girl in a bikini. And then this short but toned Indian man with a beard, in some kind of awkward sandwich on a couch in poor lighting. I just knew it looked like the casting couch for an interracial threesome porno. Too late to be seen by many, but I'll throw in. Was in the friend zone with a very attractive, very smart, and very fun blonde schoolteacher. Dating her was at least slightly inappropriate, given that I was 5 years younger than her and her son was best buds with my little brother. But was helping her move one day. At one point I was the last one helping and there was nothing left in her apartment but the bed. We used it. It was PE class and I was participating that day, so I just sat on a chair across my teacher's door. Then he started taking his shirt off and his shorts. I froze and he was about to take off his underwear when he saw me staring wide-eyed and blushing at him. He looked at me annoyed and closed the door, and that's how I saw my first guy in his underwear. I didn't speak to anyone that day. I was 13.